Hello and welcome. So I've been making YouTube videos for a little bit here, and I wanted to show you some of the cameras that I use, or particularly a camera that I use times 3. I've been using the Sony ZV-E10. It is a popular vlogger/blogger camera for YouTube, and a lot of YouTubers are using this camera. There's also a lot of reviews and a lot of talk about this camera being a very widely adopted option. And I've done so as well. And I wanted to share my experience with these 3 cameras as I've picked up a third one, do an unboxing for you guys, and do a little bit of walkthrough of this camera before I set it up. So this is the Sony ZV-E10 camera, and I've been using this for making all of my YouTube videos. This is now my 3rd camera purchase, simply so I can have an extra angle and perhaps give you an over-the-shoulder view of things that I'm unable to capture with screen capture using OBS or perhaps as an HDMI output. For example, when I'm booting or playing around in the BIOS, it's very difficult to capture that with a screen capture software such as OBS. Oftentimes, the HDMI input doesn't actually trigger until you've booted up into Windows, so it makes for a very difficult way to capture that. So if I have a 3rd camera, which I can then use around for picture shots of actual products, tours, little B-roll, and also use that to actually capture over the head shots like I just mentioned. So let's crack the box open. All right, we'll crack it open. Here we are. So first things first, we got some literature here. Paperwork, Sony, warranties, instructions, so on, so on. I don't know if anybody reads this stuff, but all of this stuff is actually available online, so there's no real reason to read this right now. So we'll set this off to the side here. All right, so now we'll continue, and let's open up this flap to reveal what else is in the box. Let's look at everything else before we actually focus on the camera. This is a little bit of a windscreen for the microphone. It slides into the hot shoe on top of the camera. It's fairly decent, I suppose, although I have not been using the internal mic within the camera itself for capturing audio or video. So let's see if we can get a close-up shot of this. It looks fairly decent, and it's just got a hot shoe adapter here. It slides into the hot shoe on the camera, and then you can use that to prevent some wind noise. So we'll set that aside. What else have we got? Yep. So this is the battery, a typical Sony NP FW50 battery. These are tiny little things. Sony states that it should capture up to 80 minutes on a continuous charge. However, in my experience, the battery seems to die out around 45 to 50 minutes of actual 4K at 30 shooting. We'll set that aside. Next thing we've got is a handy dandy little Sony over-the-shoulder carrying strap. It's nice to have, considering that these are very delicate devices. And what have we got here? So this is the charging adapter for Sony. It's a USB adapter, US North American plug, and it states that it is rated for 5 volts. Oh yes, this is the USB cable that helps to charge the camera with that little USB wall wart. 5 volts, it's going to be a quite slow charge. And here is the main star of the event. Let's take out here our camera. Let's set this box aside. Here's the main star of the event, the Sony ZV-E10. So this is the camera. On the top of the camera, we've got an on-off button, followed by a record button. This one is a slow and quick button, which allows you to toggle between pictures, videos, and a slow motion / other modes for rapid capture. Here you've got a jog dial that allows you to change ISO quickly. We have up here a custom mode button that you could actually program with a macro to set up your own functions. In the front, we've got another jog dial here. This is for zoom, wide, and tele, with a button that is for half press for focus and full press to take a picture. You've got a built-in microphone here. You can kind of see that through the grill there. And this is where the windscreen attaches that comes with the device. This is a hot shoe. You can also use this to power additional devices. This is where the carry strap attaches here and here, the 2 ends. Let's move now to the back. So on the back, we've got a nice, beautiful LCD screen, followed by a bunch of buttons. So this is a menu button for accessing all your menu options, a function buttons for some quick actions such as exposure, white balance, etc. You've got a jog dial here that rotates, and it also presses to multi-select, so different functions are highlighted here. Plus you can press this button to navigate some of the menus. You've got a preview button here to see the videos, photos you've already recorded, play them back, delete button to delete some of the files, and the LCD screen flips out like so, and can rotate like so. And you can then rotate it like this and close it back up so that it's a little bit safer if you wish. On the bottom, you've got basically the battery compartment. So right now the battery is empty. Here also is the SD card slot, and it is a single SD card slot. I believe it can take up to a UHS 2. Then we have just a 1/4" mount, and that is about all with some additional information. On the left hand side, you've got two basically bays. One bay here, which is covered and is marked with a microphone. I don't know if you can actually see that. I'll try to put it into the light here. Yeah, there we go. So that's a microphone port. And if we open it up, you'll find here that there is a microphone port with what is highlighted plug-in power. In the second flap, we've got a USB-C for charging or powering the device. We've also got a micro HDMI, and then finally a headphone jack. If you've got a battery inside and you're low, you can plug in a USB power cable here and you can charge. On the front, we've got a nice Sony marking and Alpha branding here in the top right corner, and the lens. So this comes with a kit lens, at least in Canada, 16-50. A release button here in the bottom right corner. Yes, so there is a button here that if you press and twist, you can remove the lens. So this is the kit lens that comes with the Sony camera. Be careful with that here. And here is the APS-C sensor, the crop sensor in the Sony ZV-E10 or ZV-E10, however you prefer. Let's power on the device and see how we go through the first setup. And I need to insert a charged battery here. Let me grab one from my desk. Okay, here we are. All right, now let me remove the lens cap. So you should be able to see my, yep, there we are. A little bit of inception there. It's currently in macro mode. And if you press the menu button, you get a lot of these menus here. I found the Sony menus to be quite clunky. It took me a little bit of time to get used to them. So you navigate through a bunch of different menus on each panel. There's a photo. The number 2 is video. Then you have connectivity. There's a playback feature, and there is a setup with some additional options for networking, etc., and USB settings, as well as a My Menu settings, where you can add some of your favorite settings to the menu for quick access. All right, so the way to navigate this camera menu system is to start with the top menu item, then press down, and once you're here, you can then see there's 1 out of 11 pages on this under the number 1 option. So the first thing I like to do is go over to the Face IAF settings. Make sure this is on. It's set to human, and the right left eye select is set to auto. So what this will do, and this is what Sony is famous for, their IAF, which is eye autofocus. It will try to track your eyes first to keep you in focus. If it cannot track your eyes, it will try to track your head. And if it cannot track your head, then it will finally resort to just object tracking. Press menu to go back and scroll up to the menu. You can see the highlight has gone up all the way to the menu icons. Now we navigate to number 2. So here I like to go down to audio recording. I turn mine off. You can adjust it as you wish. And then the next setting for me is on the main page, the file format. I go down to file format. I like to select 4K. Once you select 4K, you get a record setting. This camera can shoot in a few different modes. There's 24p and 30p. I like to shoot in 30p 60. There's no real reason to go up to 30p 100. And I like to go to zoom range, change it to optical, and I like the grid line so I can see how I'm framed. And now I'll press FN again, go to the skin effect, turn that off. Oh, because I'm on photo mode. There we go, movie mode. Select this again, go to the focus area, make sure it's set to wide, and we'll go here to shooting mode from intelligent auto. Let's go to manual. Now after manual exposure mode, and now you can see you'll have a lot more options for configuration here. So this is exposure compensation, ISO. This one, it's nice to just roll it down as much as possible or keep it to 100. Well, currently it's automatically 100, but you could also fix it or rotate it. You can also do, you can also use the jog dial, here to, as you rotate this, you'll see that you're getting the shutter speed. The ISO is with this dial here. So as you rotate the display dial, you can change the ISO function. We'll go to auto white balance and set this to temperature. So once you reach the temperature option, press right on your jog dial and then simply down on the jog dial to about 4500 Kelvin is a good option for sunlight. All right, so that said, you should have all of your settings correctly dialed in for some pretty good video. All right, so I hope that was a good introduction to the Sony ZV-E10 camera, and I've been having some pretty good success with this camera. As you can see, the video quality is quite excellent. In the audio department, I did have some challenges. I was able to solve those challenges by what you can see here is this microphone and an external audio input capture device. I'll be covering that in a separate video, but for those who are interested, it's a Focusrite Vocaster 1. And it has an XLR input for this XLR microphone, and I captured the audio separately using the OBS Studio and the defined audio input capture, and video is provided by the Sony ZV-E10 camera, as you see here, directly into OBS. So what I get out is a big file. If I shoot multiple cameras and multiple angles, I can then go into DaVinci Resolve, for example, add in both of those clips, and I can sync the waveforms to align my audio before I continue my editing. So overall, my experiences with the Sony ZV-E10, I think for the price, what you're getting is, there's no combination, there's no comparison really. I found that APS-C cameras are actually quite good now. This one in particular has a lot of features that have been trickled down from the Sony Alpha 6000 series, and that means you get a lot of pro level-ish features that you otherwise would not get at this price range. The equivalent Sony Alpha 6000 series camera to this would be perhaps a 64, 65, or 6600 series. A lot of the features that were in those cameras have trickled down to this particular camera, so it is very, very feature packed. The two issues that I did have, I mentioned in a prior video. One was the audio issues. I resolved that by using an external audio interface and turning off audio capture completely on the Sony ZV-E10 camera. And the other issue, the main one I had, was overheating while capturing continuously for long periods of time. So in that case, use the dummy battery to help resolve that issue. Number two, don't charge and shoot at the same time. So if you're charging via USB and powered on and shooting with the battery inside, it will overheat much more quickly. The other thing you can do is you can go into the camera settings and actually switch out. The other thing you can do is change a setting in the camera, which will allow you to sustain more heat in the camera before it builds up and the camera shuts down. So let's show you that here. And that is a second trick that will really get this thing operational for you. So with a few of these tips, such as how to handle audio capture issues with the Sony ZV-E10 and how to handle some of the overheating issues, with these two changes, I've been able to use this continuously I've been able to capture all of my videos thus far without having any issues. So I'll keep you guys posted if I run into any particular issues in the future. But other than that, as you can see, the quality speaks for itself. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an overview of the Sony ZV-E10. My experience with this camera has been very, very good. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy with the price point. Being able to get a kit camera like this for half the price, literally, of the next available option is simply fantastic. I don't think I'll be outgrowing these cameras anytime soon. As I learn to make better and better videos and more varied types of content, I will be looking forward to employing all three of these Sony ZV-E10 cameras over the years and to making all kinds of excellent content for you guys. I love the color science from Sony. I also have a Sony OLED TV simply because of Sony's color science and natural human skin and face reproductions and skin tones. So I think overall Sony is in the cinematography business and in the cinema and production and movie and film business for a very, very long time. So they will know a thing or two about cameras, color science, reproduction, and whatnot. And that's why I always select Sony for my camera equipment, as well as for my television watching needs. Hopefully this gives you a quick overview of the Sony ZV-E10 camera and on your way to blogging and making videos for YouTube. If there are specific things you would like for me to capture, please let me know in the comments. I will do my best to cover them, but keep in mind, I am not a video file nor an audio file. I am just like you, trying to communicate my ideas and share some videos with you and have fun on YouTube. So thank you very much for watching.